So in this brief video, what I want to do is I want to use the Respondus system, the Respondus software, to show how to get content from a course text publisher, the test bank specifically, and use that course text publisher content in bringing it into Sakai, into a course management system. This is going to be specific to using Sakai, and I'm not going to necessarily go through the process of showing how to get the course text content from the publisher. There is a way on the Respondus website to do that. You can go to the Respondus website and you can make a request to have access to those test banks, and that is deemed appropriate by the Respondus folks as to whether or not you're actually a legitimate party asking for those test bank questions and answers. This can be different depending upon different places. So for example, Respondus may not have been given access to test bank questions for a particular course text that you are looking at. But beyond that, once you've got access to those test bank questions from Respondus, and keep in mind, Respondus is just acting as a go-between. They provide a mechanism whereby they have software that will allow you to add questions or to modify those questions or to import those questions and then pull them over to the course management system you're using. And in this case, we're using Sakai. So what I'm going to do here is I'm already in the Respondus system, and eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these over into our testing quizzes area here inside of Sakai. This happens to be Sakai 11.3, but it's very similar for other flavors of Sakai. And so I'm going to go over here and we're simply going to pull that content in. Now to do that, I've already gotten access to the test bank content, and so I'm going to create an XML file. Sakai here is expecting an XML or a zip file to pull in and then create the assessment. So to do that then, I'm going to simply go over to Respondus and I'm going to create an assessment. I think the one that I'm actually working on is the 25-3 chapter or set of content here from this chapter, this course text. So I'm going to click OK here. And in the Respondus interface, I'm going to select from the test bank network, and I've already set this up beforehand. And in the list here, I'm going to select the 25-3 brand names and advertising entry. Now in this particular case, I only want the multiple choice sets of questions, and as you can see here, there are lots and lots of questions here. In fact, almost 100 or probably over 100. And so I'm going to use the Respondus interface to choose the question selection from manual to automatic, although you could use the manual, and I'm going to simply say that I only want the multiple choice questions by selecting the 58 out of 58. I'm not going to select any of the short answer or any other question types. I'm going to click on Insert to the list, and after a short period of time, those questions will be inserted into the list here inside of Respondus, and then I'll just simply hit close. I can see up here at the top that 58 items were successfully copied into the project. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply use the preview and publish area, and per directions inside of Sakai, when I go through and do an import here in the test and quizzes area, I'm told that when I export from Respondus, I need to make sure that I set points as decimal numbers to preserve the point values assigned to each question. So I'm going to do that here, and I'm going to select points as decimal numbers and then save as. Now I've been doing a couple of these, so I'm going to go ahead and save them there. So I've got that file saved. And so now what I'll do is I'll go back into my course management system and I'll pull that set of questions in. So we'll come over here to the browser and I'm going to choose the file that I just created, the 24-3. It's a little bit higher up here on the screen than you can see, but I'm selecting that 25-3 zip file. Select open. You can see that it's selected here, and then I'm going to select export from Respondus because that's what it was. It was an export from Respondus. We'll select the import button, and depending upon your internet connection, how big that file is, I've had question sets of over 100 before, and obviously in some cases those take longer. Some of the question sets like this include image content, which would make that zip file even larger, and so it's important to recognize that the import process might take just a little bit longer than you might expect, especially when you're thinking it's just text. So now as I scroll down here, you can see I've imported several, and that 25-3 is there. And if we want, we can go in here and we can select the edit option inside of test and quizzes, and we can see here now that those questions, all 58 of them, have been imported, including all the information there has to do with the question, and then also what the selection answer key is. So that's just a brief video on how to import content from a course text publisher using Respondus and pulling it into the tests and quizzes area of Sakai.